Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast, episode 55. It's a pretty big one today, especially for Goose. We have a special guest, Lucas Giolito, on the podcast. As always, if you guys are listening for the first time, make sure you hit that download button. It's the best way to show support. It's really like the only way we get to know our statistics with listeners every week. You can follow our social media, SR Only Pod on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to watch us on YouTube, it's youtube.com/standing room only podcast. You can follow our personal pages. Myself is at the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram. Goose
I'm going to be iGoose with 4 O's, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also on Twitch as well for all my gamers out there. And then we do have Lucas here. Where can our listeners find you at?
On social media, Twitter and Instagram at LGO27. And on Twitch, I am twitch.tv/GeneralGeo.
There you guys go. Make sure you guys go and grab Lucas Giolito. He is a gamer. He does stream live pretty frequently, guys. If you guys want to check some cool content out. And Healy, you actually have a Twitch as well.
Yeah, Healy6 on Twitch and YouTube. So, big news happened in the offseason. Lance Lynn got recently traded. That's a big news for the rotation. It's gonna be you, Gio Gonzalez, Kopech's coming back, big Dallas Keuchel. Rotation is looking nice. What was your thoughts on like the initial trade when that went through?
Yeah, so it kind of came out of nowhere. I had no idea it was coming. I saw it on Twitter. I think I was in the middle of a workout, and I just was like opening Twitter in between sets, and I saw it pop up, little Jeff Passan tweet, and immediately I was very, very excited. Admired Lance Lynn from afar for a little bit now. Last couple of years, we're both kind of similar type of pitchers. We like to go deep in the game. We throw a lot of fastballs. We like to challenge hitters in the strike zone. Obviously, Lance has been doing it a little bit longer than I have, so I'm looking forward to having him as a teammate now to work with him, learn from him, and just have that big time innings eater horse in our rotation. We really needed that.
Yeah, I think I saw a stat where he had 20, I think it was like 20 starts in a row where he threw 100 pitches or more, where
Wow.
a lot of guys today, you don't necessarily get that because of like teams are using their bullpen a lot more. With the DH being available, especially last year, it kind of helped out with that. But in the National League, probably again this year without the DH, you don't really get guys going 100 pitches, and just seeing him go through all that, and based off like MLB The Show, it doesn't seem like he throws too many pitches or too many complex pitches in his repertoire. It's just amazing to see the numbers he's put up like the past couple of years in a pretty big hitter's ballpark too.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that like old school, like I'm gonna give it everything I got every 5 days. I'm very much the same way. I was fortunate enough to last few years have Ricky Renteria as our manager, and he'd let me go. A couple times he'd come out and talk to me in a tough situation. I'd convince him to leave me in there. It worked out sometimes, didn't work out others, but that's all right. It's part of the process. But yeah, that's the type of guy I want to be for the rest of my career. Throwing 100 pitches every start, pitching in the 7th inning consistently, and more. Racking up as many complete games as possible, trying to take that pressure off of our bullpen. But you made a good point there that like in today's day and age, where kind of analytics run a lot of the show, you see a starting pitcher get through the lineup like 2 times, and a lot of the time they want to get that guy out of there before turning it over to the 3rd time. That was very evident in the World Series with that Blake Snell start. I wanted to punch drywall watching that happen because Blake was absolutely dealing that game, and to come, what was it, 6th inning, 7th inning, lineup turns over. I mean, he was doing work against the top 3 guys in that lineup, and then they still pulled him anyways. And so, sometimes the analytics thing works out, other times it doesn't. I think that a good combination is solid. So I think that we kind of have a good mix of that with our org right now. So I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, and then Dane Dunning went in the deal to the Rangers. He pitched on the team a little bit this year. He seems like he has a pretty bright future from what he did with the White Sox.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dane's very, very talented. The one thing I'm most impressed about Dane is he has no fear. He came up. We really needed him to kind of slide in and help the team, and he did just that. He goes out there, he throws a lot of strikes, he throws a lot of different types of pitches. He's got the sinker, four-seamer, curveball, slider. I see him being a horse for the Rangers now. It's tough. I'm good friends with him. I play Rocket League with him all the time, but that's not going to change. I'm glad that he has a nice opportunity with Texas now.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that came up. Also had Garrett Crochet, who I heard you praise on Twitter on your stream last night, talking about one of the best lefties you've seen. It's just, he got drafted this year, and he was already on the team, and it was just unfortunate. I believe on playoff time, he got hurt.
Yeah, he had a little flexor strain going on. That'll happen to hard throwers. But from everything I'm hearing, rehab went great. He's back to great form coming into spring training. But yeah, I mean, Garrett's very impressive. Obviously, anyone could look at his stuff. The fastball, slider, the changeup's actually pretty solid too. I think a lot of people are sleeping on that pitch with him. And the thing that most impressed me about him was the bulldog mentality. He came from college straight to the show in a playoff race and showed absolutely zero fear. I mean, he was going out there just chucking 102, challenging established big league hitters and making them look silly. So he's going to be a big piece of what we got going forward.
Oh yeah, in MLB The Show, he's like the one guy I use in my bullpen right now.
They give him the short arm action in the video game.
They don't have his motion. Maybe next year. I think next year they will, but they use like Brad Keller's motion as of now.
Yeah, because for me, MLB The Show was 1 year late on the short arm action. So like last year's game, I still had the long arm action. And I've talked about this before. Like I play MLB The Show for my scouting report, and it's like a little visualization mixed in with kind of like studying up on the hitters I'm going to be facing. And I'd have to like kind of like keep my eyes away from my pitching motion in the game to be like, no, don't do that. You got to stay short. You got to stay clean. And then the next year, MLB The Show, they brought it out, that short arm action. And I think it's pretty useful sometimes, especially with my 99 card.
Yeah, you have your own. They also released one after your no-hitter this year. It's been great to use sometimes, especially because you have like maxed out hits and strikeouts per 9. You just mentioned how you use it for like scouting. Would you just load up the game CPU versus CPU and see how things ran, or?
No, I have a whole process. Oh man. So the previous year, I actually went in and I did all the rosters myself. So like I created a whole set of rosters where I was like going in there, I would look at, let's say we're facing the Royals and they had like a rookie that I thought the next day, because I have to guess, right? I don't know what the lineup card is the night before. So I'm like, oh, this rookie just got called up a few days ago. I think he's going to be in the lineup. So then I'd go into the rosters and I'd look through like AAA, AA, and see if that guy exists. And if he existed, then I'd have to call him up and then figure out, okay, who got hurt? Why is this guy coming up? And then like send another guy down. And I have to spend all this time like managing the 40-man rosters for like various teams I'd be playing. And I did that all during 2019, and then I'd go. Basically, the process is I go into the game. I play on just like veteran mode, so not like all-star or anything like that. Just so it's not extremely difficult, because one of the main things is I want to see myself being successful in the video game the night before a real game. Play on like veteran mode. I player lock as myself, so I simulate all of our hitting. All I do is do like my pitching and then like the defense if they put the ball in play. And I go through a 9-inning game. First time through the lineup, I'm like locked in on my iPad and my notes and whatever I have on the hitter, reading everything as far as, I mean, I could get into it, but it'd probably be a little boring, like swing tendencies on first pitch, hot and cold zones, all that kind of stuff. And I'm locked in on every single guy first time through. Second time through, it's more of like a little glance. Like I'm trying to go through my head. Okay, this guy, I have this, 0 count. This is a good pitch. This location. With runner, if there's a runner in scoring position, I know that like this is a good sequence, and I'll just kind of glance down. But I'm mostly getting back into the game. And then third time through the lineup is when I'm just like playing the game, going completely off of memory. And if I'm content with that first game, especially with like teams I face all the time, like the Royals or the Indians or the Twins, then I will just call it a night after one. But with other teams, or if like, let's say I gave up like a monster home run or something, and the MLB The Show game just did not go the way I wanted, then I'll play another one and go through that same process. But last year I couldn't do the whole like managing rosters thing. I was like, I'm just gonna do the MLB. I think it's like MLB Network powered live rosters.
Yeah.
So I would just update them, and a lot of time they're really close. Sometimes they'd be a little bit off, and I'd just kind of like mess around with it a little bit.
So is it safe to assume if you're facing the Twins and you're pitching around like Nelson Cruz or Kepler or some of these other guys, if you are constantly pitching around these guys, we can assume that they destroyed you in MLB The Show the night before?
You're never gonna see me pitching around a guy on purpose. That's just not me.
No, you like to
If
challenge the hitters, and
if it looks like I'm pitching around a guy, it's probably just because I lost my command for a little bit,
okay.
and I'm fighting to get it back.
I had to throw that one out there. That's kind of unique. Thinking about like gaming over the years too. I mean, since we're on the topic of gaming and like how Madden for football was designed to kind of help guys scout them, scout and whoever they're going to play. Obviously, with analytics and statistics, like you said, you're using an iPad. You have something else, that you're looking at, and the hot and cold, the tendencies, first pitch, second pitch. It's kind of interesting how gaming where it's at now, and now it's just a matter of it's only getting better. Because obviously you're a gamer yourself. Is there like ever a time when you're gaming where, where you're gaming and you just go into it, and have you ever had to like pull yourself out of a game?
Oh, like in my scattering report sessions?
Yeah. Like
Oh, yeah.
say you're like going up against it. You're like, okay, maybe third, fourth inning. You're like, all right, this guy gets hot here. I'm about 50, 60 pitches in. Does that end up happening too? Like, are you taking it as serious as you can? Because I know like there's other athletes that take these games so serious so that when they actually do go out there, if the coach, you have the pitching coach coming to the mound, you're like, hey, I'm telling you, I know this guy. Maybe I need to work on this, or maybe I need to pitch around this guy, whatever it may be. Do you take it as serious as though you're playing the game?
Yes. Yes and no.
Mhm.
I can always hit the restart button if it's not going the way I want. Like
Sure.
a lot of the time, I go through 3-4 innings in the video game the night before start, and I'm like, I'm not focused. Like, what am I doing? And so hit the restart button, kind of refresh, get it going. Okay, I'm gonna lock in on this one.
Mhm.
And I'm decent at MLB The Show, and I'm playing on like veteran difficulty against the computer. So when I'm like focused, I'm generally striking out like 16 against the computer and just dominating. So that's not totally an issue. A lot of the time, though, in like a big situation, like walk someone in the game, give up a double, you got runners on second and third, nobody out. I will do like the mound visit thing within the video game, and then kind of like take a step back, put the controller down, take some deep breaths, and be like, okay, like this is a situation that will happen. Like, I'm not going to go out there and throw a no hitter every time. Like, this is something that could happen. So like, let me practice right now what I will do if I am in that situation. It's definitely not going to be like mashing the X button, like, let's go, let's go, let's go. It's going to be, okay, like, take my step off the mound, relax, take a deep breath, refocus, and let's go and get it. So I've noticed that when I'm like controlling my breathing, when I'm very focused on what I'm trying to accomplish in the video game, that I'm actually like hitting the what is it called, zone pitching, or with the right stick, analog pitching. Like, I'm like hitting those spots over and over and over again. And when I'm just like going, focus isn't really there. It's like, oh, I want to get through this. I know how to pitch against this team. Then I'm like all over the place, and it's like 3-1 counts and things like that. So it is kind of interesting to me that I don't know, it like carries over almost. It's like similar.
Yeah, no,
even though one is way different than the other.
Yeah.
I know LeBron plays like 2K. He loves playing 2K with his team, running plays. Just for the people at home, I did play Lucas one time. He did beat me. He came back in the game. We're playing on like Hall of Fame difficulty too, which is like one of the highest in the game. I know Carlos Rodon, he was like able to just read pitches in the game. Were you able to do that? Like, pretty much guess what people were gonna throw?
If I'm like really focused sometimes, because guys will fall into patterns, especially people that like never played baseball, never pitched, maybe played baseball but never pitched, and never pitched at a high level. You'll fall into certain patterns, and it's more like, oh, this works in the video game, versus this is like how a pitcher would actually pitch. And like with MLB The Show, like, you got high sinkers and stuff like that. That's not something that you'd ever do in real life on purpose. Those kind of pitches get mashed. But I think it kind of goes both ways. Like, MLB The Show, at the end of the day, it's not a true baseball sim. Like, it is a video game. It has to be accessible to a broad audience. So I think that guys like yourself that play the game a lot and understand the ins and outs will realize, oh, like the high sinker is a useful pitch, which can catch a guy like me by surprise. But when it's just like slider away, high fastball, slider away, high fastball, it's like, okay, I'll figure this out. That's kind of what happened last night when I was playing against Robert. Yeah, he had Darvish, and he kept going like early cutters. And at first, the cutter was breaking so late that I was just off with the PCI. Like, I couldn't figure it out. Then after 2 innings, I was like guessing cutter, and I started mashing it. And next thing you know, Darvish gave up like 6 runs in 4 innings. And so I don't know. That's just me kind of using a little baseball ingenuity, even though I'm not like the most technically skilled in a game like MLB The Show.
Yeah, that's like one of my main things. I think I'm a pretty decent pitcher in the show, just because I never try to replicate a count twice. No matter first pitch, like fastball, never try to hit that same spot first pitch again. I just try mixing it up, which a lot of people fall into. Growing up, you're a pretty big gamer. Your dad worked in the like gaming industry. What was some of like your favorite games growing up? And like, after that, like, was there a sports game you really played starting out?
Yeah, so I grew up around video games. My dad was a producer at Electronic Arts. My earliest memories of gaming were the Nintendo 64, playing like Super Smash Brothers and Mario Kart with my cousins and my little brother. I remember playing through Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time with my dad. I mean, he was playing. I was mainly watching. That game was too complex for me at like 6 years old. But my dad did Knockout Kings, which was the boxing video game in like the late 90s before they like shifted to Fight Night, before Electronic Arts shifted to Fight Night. And that game was super fun. Like I remember being a little kid, my dad was like, "Hey, like I can turn on big head mode for you." And he'd turn on and be like, "Oh, this is hilarious." Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. Like I remember going to his studio and there was like this storage closet in the like parking garage. And it was like right before Halloween, and he opens it up and he's like, "All right, go in there, grab whatever you want." And it was just like this like big closet full of cardboard boxes filled with copies of like all the Electronic Arts games. And so of course like I grabbed all the copies of like the MLB game, Madden, NHL, and I was like, I'm gonna give these to my friends and stuff. And I ended up getting so many of them that we brought them home. And then uh, during Halloween, like when I was done trick or treating, came back, and when kids were coming up and like ringing the doorbell, I was like, when I would see like a kid around my age, I'd be like, "Hey, do you play video games?" Yeah. So like, here, take Madden. Here's NHL. Um, I thought I was like the coolest kid in school for doing that. But yeah, I mean, that's video games have been huge in my life. Like growing up, even now, it's like my number one kind of escape from baseball. Pretty high pressure job. Getting on there. I'm a very competitive person, and so playing games like Call of Duty and Rocket League, other sports games too, able to get the competitive juices flowing without having to, on the basketball court and risk injury or something like that.
Yeah, you're a big Rocket League guy. Did you start playing it when it originally came out? I remember it was like free on PlayStation when it came out. It was like $20, I think, on PC. It was one of like the first cross-play games that you could actually play.
Yeah, I remember I was very frustrated with FIFA. I was playing a lot of FIFA, and I was like, "Oh man, this FIFA seasons is." I wanted to break stuff playing that because I felt like that algorithm thing where if you're winning by a lot, then it gives the team a chance, and like bad things start happening. You're like, "Why is this happening?" Like that was a perfect kick, and then it went way wide right. Like, what is this? It got so frustrating. I was like, I want to play a sports game that is just like completely even across the board. Like me versus you. If I'm better than you, I'm gonna win. If you're better than me, you're gonna win. There's no like any other stuff going on. And I was just like on Twitch one day and I saw Rocket League on, whatever. I think there was like a tournament or something, so it kind of like popped up a little bit higher. I turned it on, I was like, whoa, this is sick. This looks fun. It's kind of like a sports game, but it's a little different. And so I remember me and my cousin started playing it. He's super into PC gaming as well. And my first like 25, 30 hours were actually on keyboard mouse.
Ooh.
And Rocket League is a very difficult game to play on keyboard mouse. And so we're playing and playing and playing. It's like, why aren't we getting better? Like, what's going on? And I just didn't do any research into it. And then I realized, wait, everyone plays this game with a controller. What am I doing? So I plugged my controller in. I'm like, oh, now we got it.
Now it's
And
on.
yeah, I mean, the grind started from there. I played it. It definitely got me through the minor leagues. That's for sure. It got me through the minor leagues. All those bus rides, I'd have my laptop. I'd open up Rocket League, just go into training mode and just practice my mechanics in Rocket League because you don't have internet. And I got pretty good. I was grand champ, which is like the highest rank during one season. And nowadays, I don't play it as much anymore, but I still play it like a pretty relatively high level for sure.
And it's one of like the few games where on PC a controller is better than keyboard and I
Yeah,
played it for a
exactly.
little bit. It's super tough, especially like uh if you play on like an Xbox controller, you hit Y to like lock onto the ball, or you just free drive and have to like keep it in the air. It's ridiculous. If anyone listening does not know what Rocket League is, check it out because the
Yes.
stuff the pros can do,
Mhm.
unbelievable. It takes so much talent.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to play with a couple of those pro players, and I remember I was playing with one guy, and after like 3 minutes, he like typed in chat, don't boost while you're front flipping. It's gonna slow you down. I'm like, I have like 800 hours in this game, and I didn't know that. And he noticed after playing with me for like 2 minutes. Like these guys are on another level, man. Um, yeah, the ability, like it's all physics based. It's like Unreal Engine. You're in complete control of your car as far as like how you can turn it. There's different like modifiers and stuff. Um, yeah, if anyone's gonna like pick it up and start playing, look up some controller maps that are different than the default. The default is not the way to go. That's for sure. Yeah.
Sticking with the video games, uh, and you mentioned like you played MLB games growing up. Was there a time growing up where you're like, wow, it'd be cool if I was in one of these someday?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I played MLB The Show. When did the first one come out? Like 2008?
06.
Oh, 6. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wow.
So I didn't get into it probably until I was a freshman in high school. So that was like 2008, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like obsessed with the road to the show. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'd make a guy try and make him look as close to me as possible, make a picture. I remember one year, like I just played on like rookie difficulty, and I was throwing a complete game shutout every single start, just like dominating in the big leagues and being like, man, I can't wait until I'm in one of these games. That'd be pretty cool. And so now it is, and I used it for scouting reports. Pretty interesting.
That's awesome. Did you always pitch like all throughout high school and like growing up?
Yeah, I actually in little league, I was a pretty good hitter. I was never
Mhm.
very good defensively. Um, when I would go on a mound, I threw harder than everyone else, but I had no idea where the ball was going. And that was a thing until I was like 15.
They call it it's wild thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like my freshman year of high school, I was on the varsity team, but I had very limited innings. And then my sophomore year of high school, I kind of got thrust into the role of like, you're our guy, we need you to be our main starter. And I was miserable. Like I don't even know what my stats were. My ERA had to be in the fives or sixes. It was just like walk after walk after walk. Um, I remember one game, I walked like 4 or 5 in a row, got pulled in the first inning, went home, like had a complete breakdown, like what is wrong with me? I can't do this. And then my next game, I ended up throwing like a CG shutout, got us into the playoffs, and I was like, you know what? I can do this.
I kind of like this
And
thing.
yeah, and so it just went from there. But yeah, I was definitely like a late bloomer. A lot of guys that are big leaguers now, they just dominated forever. Like
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
they dominated in high school. Like you see, they had video game numbers in high school, striking out like 200 and 100 innings pitched, stuff like that.
It's like the Birdies we went to high school with the Birdies, Nick and
Oh
Zach
yeah.
Birdie. So yeah, they were huge talk of the
Mm-hmm.
town. I mean, even growing up, I played baseball up until high school, but yeah, there's always those kids that just always dominated, always dominated. Were you were you always the tall one as well? Like growing up, or
hmm
was there like a late? Because I know some people they hit their growth spurt super late, and all of a sudden they're just like, yeah, they threw me at first base because I'm taller. They had me pitch because of the velocity going down. So you were always the taller kid.
Yeah, I was always taller. But I did have a big growth spurt as well. Like my
Mhm.
freshman year of high school, I think I was around 6 feet, which is
Okay,
pretty
wow.
tall. That's pretty
Yeah,
tall for a
yeah.
freshman. It's not like basketball center height, but it's like pretty tall. And then it was like the summer from my freshman year to sophomore year. By the time I was a sophomore, I was 6'4". And then by the time I was a senior, I was 6'6", and that's when the growing ended. And that's where I am now. But yeah, I was always taller, and then I had that like 4-inch growth spurt, and that kind of contributed to me not being able to throw strikes. Like I literally had no idea what I was doing mechanically. I was just able to whip it really quick.
Yeah, you had Jack Flaherty, Max Fried on your high school team as well.
Oh, wow.
Were they one of
Okay.
those? Were they like those guys that were just good right off the rip? I know Jack, you said, played like position as well.
Yeah, Jack was always that kid. He showed up his freshman year, very athletic, playing shortstop and third base, making beautiful plays across the diamond. Very solid hitter as well. Max, same boat, extremely athletic growing up. He played basketball and baseball in high school. Max actually didn't come to Harvard Westlake, our high school, until his senior year. So he was at a different high school for his first 3 years of school, and then I think his high school like ran out of money and they had to shut down their sports. And so he was like, I'm a draft prospect. I got to play baseball in high school my senior year. I was like, come on over. Let's get this thing going. And yeah, I mean, Max's senior year, when he didn't pitch, he was playing the outfield, and I think he hit close to 500.
Wow.
So yeah, if like he never stepped on a mound, I really think that Max would be probably in the big leagues right now as like an outfielder. He's very fast too. He pinch runs for the Braves.
It's ridiculous, like hearing high school stats from players. Like the one I always remember is Joe Mauer. I think he was the #1 rated football recruit in the country. And Joe Mauer decided to play baseball. And in high school, he didn't strike out one time. He was just
Oh my
that
God.
good.
That's insane.
One time.
You'd think he'd have one at bat where like he just just wasn't seeing the ball well, maybe took strike 3, the umpire gave the kid like this much off the plate. Guess not. Yeah, that's crazy. My junior year was like my breakout year in high school, and I remember my stats. Not all. I think I had like my ERA was low. I think I had like a 1 ERA, but I only had 78 strikeouts and 70 innings pitched. Whereas now in the big leagues, like I'm a strikeout guy. So it's like interesting that I'm definitely way better now than I was in high school. In high school, I was just throwing as hard as I could and throwing some curveballs and hoping for the best. And now it's like, oh, I know how to pitch actually.
Yeah, where did that like transition come from? You think like where you started becoming a big strikeout guy?
I think that post Tommy John, I really started to develop the changeup. My curveball was still a very good pitch as I was coming up through the minor leagues. And in the lower levels of the minors, there's a lot of undisciplined hitters. And so I would just throw that curveball in the dirt. But like just growing up and learning how to pitch at a professional level with like really good coaching and other players around you. I was a high school pick and I immediately get into the system and I'm in rookie ball with guys that signed out of college, big time D1 colleges and senior signs, different types of pitchers. And I was just trying to soak in as much as I could. And that's just kind of the process, development through the minor leagues, learning how to be a pitcher, not just a thrower. And yeah, I think the development of the changeup was definitely a big one too.
I was gonna be like one of my next questions. What was like your favorite pitch to develop?
Definitely the changeup. The way that came about was actually kind of through Tommy John surgery. Before I got hurt my senior year, it was all fastball curveball. I threw a high velocity fastball and I would snap off a kind of power curveball, like Glasnow type of curveball in like the mid 80s. And then I hurt my elbow. When I was coming back from that, you have a very methodical throwing program, and I started mixing in just different types of changeup grips, trying to get a feel. Like I kind of told myself when I come back from Tommy John, I want to have like a good 3-pitch mix. I don't want to just be fastball, curveball. And so just throwing a lot of different types of changeups, kind of figuring out what works for me, and end up settling on like the 2-seam circle change, which is what I throw now. And yeah, it just kind of worked out from there. Just throwing it a lot, getting used to it, figuring out different release points. And for me, I feel kind of lucky in that I don't have to like manipulate my changeup. I just throw it exactly like my fastball. And when I do that, it's generally going to work out. It's when I'm like trying to do too much with the changeup is when it can hurt me. So for me, simpler is better.
And like a pretty big part about pitching in the big leagues today, probably in the past as well. You got to make sure every single pitch, your arm slot and stuff's moving the same. You don't have to go into great detail on how you keep stuff there, but how hard is it to develop symmetry or keep it synchronized with every single pitch?
Yeah, that was the thing that was very difficult for me, and part of why I didn't have success in the major leagues for a while was I was never on time, flying open. You know, my arm slot, it would be like all over the place, and it kind of took getting my ass kicked to really bear down and be like, okay, like let's make some real concrete changes so that I can be on time. And then being on time leads to being able to be consistent with your arm path and your uh, arm and hand location for different pitches. The one thing that I was working on a lot last season was making my slider more similar to my fastball and changeup mechanics, if you will. And by the end of the year, I was able to kind of accomplish that. My slider became a lot better than it had been, to the point where my first playoff start ever, I threw more sliders than changeups, which is not something I typically do, but end up working out. Uh, yeah, I think that it's nowadays a lot easier to do than it used to be because there's so much data that you can gather. We have different devices like TrackMan and Rapsodo and Hawkeye and like slow-mo cameras that show you exactly. You can do overlays. Like I'll look at overlays all the time of like a fastball release and a changeup release and a slider release. And it will show me, oh, like I'm over here with my slider, but my changeup and my fastball, I'm right here. Okay, like let me make that little bit of an adjustment. And for me, it's all feel based. So when I can see something in slow mo and I can like look at that data, I can then take that and then try to like quantify it into something that I can feel. And sometimes that's the hardest part, but it's part of it. Not everything's going to be easy. You got to work at it.
Yep. Staying consistent, which clearly you have, as you mentioned, and I believe in that interview with Jason Benetti, you had mentioned, I think he asked you a question. It was something like, what was that mindset, waking up and you had a super high ERA, could be like up there with like the worst in the league, but then you come back, the next day, and you mentioned obviously you're a competitive person, whether if it's from gaming to hitting the mound, whatever it may be, and that's clear as day. What was that mindset for you, and what was really the trigger there? Like, was it immediately like, I'm going to go start working on my mechanics? Was it maybe like a certain pitching coach that helped you get to that point? Because year over year, obviously you're getting better and better. And I think that defines your success right there. Because obviously, I mean, everybody knows you've thrown the no-hitter, which is huge success. Like that goes on your resume forever. That's going to go on your Hall of Fame resume, whatever it may be. But I'm a firm believer that year over year, day after day, if you're better than you were yesterday, then that actually truly defines success, which you've been doing. But was there like, what was your mindset there? Like, what did you jump to at what point?
Yeah, that's a really good point you made. I 100% agree. Success is being better the next season than you were the previous one, being
Mhm.
better the next day than you were the day
Mhm.
before. That is the mindset that Hall of Fame type guys have.
Mhm.
Uh, when I was fortunate enough to go to the All-Star game, I got to meet uh, a bunch of big time pitchers, Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander,
Mhm.
etc. And Justin Verlander was a guy I've admired for a very long time. You know, I would watch him when I was in high school and be like, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
And then I got the chance to meet with him and talk to him. And Scherzer too, like all these guys that I've talked to, it's like, all right, cool. Like you've made these adjustments, like, you know, you've established yourself, you're doing well, but what's next? Like, what are you going to improve now? What's the
Yeah.
next thing you're going to get better at? And it's like, oh, okay, cool. This is how it is. The best guys, they're searching for ways to improve until the day they retire. When you
Mhm.
retire, it's like, all right, cool. I'll call it a day. I'm going to move
Yeah.
on to my next thing, and then I'm going to have that same mindset.
Same.
You know,
Exactly.
whether it be like business or you're going to call games or whatever it may be. But for me, like I was searching for mechanical fixes and trying to do everything for a long time. I started to develop like bad habits in my mechanics starting probably in like 2014, 2015.
Mhm.
And I was kind of cruising through the minor leagues. I didn't pay it too much mind. I was like, I'm just trying to get to the big leagues. I got to pitch well. Um, and I did get that taste of the big leagues and I got my ass kicked. And
Mhm.
then I
Mhm.
got another taste of the big leagues and that was in 2017 with the White Sox, and I pitched well in like 7 or 8 starts, but I was very lucky. Like if you look at the underlying numbers, I was very lucky.
Mhm.
A lot of hard hit balls going right at people. And then 2018 was my first full season, and obviously everyone knows that I would think I was the worst starting league that year. And so that was like that ass kicking I needed to be like, all right, what I've been doing is not working. It's time to step out of this comfort zone I've been in where, I just want to keep doing the same thing over and over again, same off-season routine, same in-season routine. Like that's not working. It's time to really change it up. And so uh a lot of it was just listening to Don Cooper, who was our pitching coach,
Mhm.
going back into that offseason after 18 and connecting with Ethan Katz, who was my pitching coach in high school. At that point, he was like a pitching coordinator. The next year, he was the assistant pitching coach with the Giants, and now he's our pitching coach with the White Sox. But
Mhm.
connecting with him, uh, I'd been working with him. I worked with him every single offseason of my career. But a lot of stuff he was trying to get me to do, I wasn't listening. I was being a little stubborn. I was like, I don't need to put this weird like strap system on my hips and do these drills. Like I'm fine. Like I don't want to throw plyo care balls. I don't want to do that. And he was like, every year he'd be like, Lucas, like I think this would be very helpful for you. I'd be like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
And after 18, I was like, Ethan, what do you got for me, man? I am ready. I'm ready to make some real changes. And so we got to work. And, it was an everyday process of really opening up, kind of getting out of that comfort zone. And I think that can apply to like any facet of like life,
Yeah.
career. It's not just a baseball thing. I think that if you're like stuck in a rut and you feel like you're not going anywhere, like try something completely new. Like do something like wacky that you don't think you would ever try and like see how that feels. And that's kind of how it was for me. I went from like being very long, like long front side, long arm stroke to being like short and compact. I never saw myself being that guy, but that's what worked out for me. It's not for everybody, but that's kind of the changes I needed to make to
Mhm.
realize my potential. And from there, the work never stops. I'm still doing all my drills. I'm still looking for ways to improve. Nowadays it's not so much mechanical improvements, but like
Mhm.
pitching improvements. A big one for me this off season is kind of finding that curveball again. I used to have that big power curveball, and it's kind of taken a back seat to the changeup and slider. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, cool. How can we start to mix that in again? Like, is it going to be a grip change? Is it just going to be like some new types of drills? Like, we'll
Mhm.
see. I'm not at that point yet. I'm only out to like 90 feet right now throwing, but we're going to get there and keep working on it.
How did this previous off season like affect training and whatnot with like all of COVID?
Oh
Yeah,
man.
that was crazy, man. We go to spring training, everybody was feeling good. We had some new guys on the team. We were having a very great spring training, and then boom, just shuts down, and we all went home. And we were full lockdown pandemic mode, especially here in California. A lot of rules and regulations, rightfully so. And for a while, I was lifting in my garage. I bought a bunch of lifting equipment. I was lifting in my garage, which doesn't have air conditioning, and it was like 110 degrees in there every day. And then I would walk my dog to this park a couple blocks away from our house, and I'd throw into a chain link fence. And luckily, we live in a day and age where there's a lot of technology, and so I'd wear this thing on my arm that would track like the stress I was putting on my arm, and like it would track the amount of throws I was making, because when
Wow.
you're just throwing into a fence over and over again, it's kind of hard to keep track of like, am I out to 120 feet right now? Am I out to 150 feet? Like, how many
Mhm.
throws have I made? I'm so used to playing catch with a partner, and you guys can like kind of gauge each other, and it's a very much a feel thing. So that was pretty much my routine. Like, my daily routine was like lift in my garage and go to this park, and uh my dog would watch me play catch with myself. And
Probably was jealous.
yeah, for real. No, he was too busy barking at all the squirrels, but yeah, that was pretty much it. Things started to open up a little bit before we got out for summer camp, is what we called it. And I was able to start mixing in some live bullpen sessions and things like that. But that preparation for a baseball season was unlike anything we've ever experienced before. Um, it obviously it kind of took its toll. A lot of injuries last season, unfortunately. But hopefully we can kind of get back to normalcy here soon. Hoping that this vaccine will be solid. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely built some mental toughness for all of us. That's for sure.
Yeah, a bunch of
Awesome.
games, not a lot of off days. I don't know how many doubleheaders the White Sox had to play this year, but
Not too many. I think we had just a couple. The White Sox, we did a very good job. We did a great
mhm.
job with like doing our social distancing and not going out, not doing anything dumb to put us in harm's way. The whole organization, we were on board. Um, yeah, I know that Moncada, he got sick, like, but it was before the
Mhm.
season. Maybe he missed like a little bit because he just had to build back up.
Mhm.
Um, but other than that, we were good, man. I feel bad for my boy Jack in the Cardinals. Like, they
Mhm.
they had to wear it. Like, they were like throwing. I remember I was like FaceTiming him once, and he was like, "Look at my setup," and he had like pushed the mattress of the hotel room they were quarantined in up against the wall, and he was just like throwing into the mattress. I'm like, "Oh my god, it gives me flashbacks throwing into the chain link fence every day." But we're in the middle of, but it's like we're in the middle of a big league baseball season,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Jack Flaherty, one of the premier starting pitchers in all of baseball, is throwing into a mattress in a hotel in Milwaukee. Like, what is going on? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
they had to play like 50 something games in like 40 something days.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just weird with the 7 inning double headers this year. There's like call ups with that, like playing home games at the road stadium. Like I know my guy Tyson Miller, he debuted this year for the Cubs, but he debuted at Wrigley in a 7-inning game, but he was the visiting pitcher
Yeah,
against the Cardinals and with no fans.
Yeah, we had a doubleheader today against the Cardinals. I started game one. It was their first game back after their whole quarantine thing, and they wailed on me a little bit. It was one of my worst starts of the year. I think they were excited to get back out there.
So then this offseason, talked about the Lance Lynn trade. The team, super young to begin with, and they exceeded what a lot of people's expectations this past year. The Central Division was just super close all the way up until the end. Top 3 teams made the playoffs. I'm excited for next season. I know Goose is as well. There's a lot of young talent, and it got more experience going into next year. If you are not watching the White Sox next year, you're gonna be missing out. You're gonna watch a fun team. You got Jason Benetti on TV. You got Len Casper now being the radio guy. That's gonna hurt me. That's gonna be weird. I might have to just listen to the radio.
He defected.
The White Sox signed Adam Eaton, who you were traded for before.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny, man. It's like coming full circle. Me, Ronaldo and Dane were traded for Adam Eaton. He goes and wins a World Series with the Nats, and now he's coming back. And me and Ronaldo are on the team, and Dane was the key piece in getting Lance Lynn. It's pretty interesting. I think he had a good quote about it when he was doing an interview yesterday, where he was like, "It's very weird, but it's like pretty exciting that I get traded for guys that are like key components of this team, and now I'm coming back and hopefully we can win a ring." So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. I'm excited. I think that there might be some more moves on the way for us before we get together for spring training. Obviously, I don't know anything because I'm not a front office guy. I'm just a player. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
It seems like you have a pretty decent relationship with Jason Benetti. Doing interviews with him. It was also cool how you were in the Players League to start off like the year, where there was like that time where we were waiting for baseball to come back. Each MLB team had one player representing the team playing MLB The Show against each other. You had Jason Benetti commentate games for you.
Yeah, I'd have him on there. Yeah, the chat loved it, man. I for me, like I would get nervous for those games, especially early on, because I'm not the most experienced MLB The Show player, and I would like turn on the Twitch stream. That was like right when I started Twitch streaming, and it would be like all these people. Like I'd look at the number, it'd be like 100, 200, 300, 1,000 people watching. I'd be sitting there so nervous playing this game online, and like everything, it was like quick 3-inning games. Like every pitch matters. And so I was like, Jason, I need you to come in here, man. I need some support. Get everyone excited, get them to stop, clowning on me when I'm striking out and making bad pitches. And he did a fantastic job. We had a lot of fun with that.
Exclamation point drops in the chat.
Yes, sir.
And then use your Twitch channel, General Geo. How did the general part come from?
I don't remember. My like online name has always been El Jefe Geo. I don't know. I don't remember why I picked that either, but it doesn't really roll off the tongue. And so I was like, you know what? Let me like get alliteration, get something that just like sounds a little bit better and can kind of have like a little bit of a community around it. And so we ended up deciding on General Geo, and all my like sub badges are like different like army insignias and stuff like that. So it's just like a little fun thing to change it up a little bit.
How has the whole Twitch thing been? Decided to stream, and also, as you stated, like off cam beforehand, all the donations and stuff go to animal Society?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't keep any money from Twitch streaming. It's a fun side hobby for me, and I just want to use the platform to kind of give back and bring awareness to a organization that's very near and dear to me and my wife's heart. She's actually one of the presidents of the organization. This will be her last year of being a president. It's called Orphan Kitten Project. I got exclamation point OKP in my chat. Um, and so anyone that's listening to the pod, you can go to orphankittenproject.org or check them out on Instagram at Orphan Kitten Project. It's a local nonprofit. It's ran by veterinary students. My wife is one of them here at UC Davis. And basically, they just do wonderful work saving kittens' lives, essentially. There's a lot, especially in this area, a lot of feral cats, a lot of stray cats, um, giving birth to litters. A lot of time, mother cats will like abandon their children in the wild. And so people will just like pick up, be like, oh, wow, a litter of kittens right here. And a lot of people don't know, but the like mortality rate for kittens is extremely high. A lot of them just like kind of give up on life early, and this organization takes them in, um, you know, gets them the medical attention they need, spay, neuter, adoption, fostering. We're actually, my wife being a president, we're heavily involved here in the house. We're constantly fostering. We have an incubator downstairs in our kitchen where we put little baby, they're called neonatals, like little tiny baby kittens in there. When they don't have mother cat, they can't control their temperature. So we have this incubator, like what chicken eggs go into. And we actually have one in there right now. His name's Lionel, trying to get him to gain weight. But yeah, I mean, any support's always much appreciated, whether it be financial or if someone's living in the area and is interested in adopting or fostering, or even just a follow on social media is great. So for me, Twitch streaming, just kind of, giving back to the fans and having good time with it and then raising awareness around that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, my girlfriend's gonna love to hear this part of the podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, following Orphan Kitten Project on Instagram, a
Yeah.
lot of cute pictures of baby kittens. So, I mean, who doesn't love that?
Yeah, you definitely got a supporter over here, man. That's for sure. We'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Orphan Kitten Project. Cool, cool.
Yeah, and a cool thing about Twitch streaming, especially as an athlete, is from the fans' perspective. I know fans, it's like one of their first opportunities to ask questions, but it is cool to just interact with athletes on social media. That's kind of like how I got in touch with you originally as well. It's been super cool to just connect with people. They're just normal guys playing games.
Yeah, that's the one thing whenever I talk to and again, it's been cool kind of connecting with people in the Twitch space, the YouTube space. I've been like a fan from afar for a while, and then being able to make that connection and hang out with you guys is a lot of fun for me because being a baseball player, I'm not just like a robot. A huge interest of mine's video games, and I've always like, ever since I was a kid, I watched like playthroughs on YouTube and I watch my favorite Twitch people and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun to kind of make that connection, build relationships, and even getting into streaming myself. I have that little community on Twitch, and we have a good time. I try to answer all the chat questions as long as it's not like, hey, Giolito, what free agent do you want?
Yeah, it's probably a big one at the moment.
Oh, yeah, I get that a lot.
Switching over to like the Chicago area, we're both big Chicago guys. You've been in the city for past 4 years now. What's been your favorite part about pitching in Chicago?
Oh man, it's hard not to say the food. I love the food in Chicago, the restaurants. I mean, we're trying new places all the time. It's all fantastic. I love I live downtown during the year. It is my favorite city ever. Like during the summertime, uh, you can go out on the lake on a boat. We'll rent a boat and do that whole thing, walking around. The Streeterville area. That's generally where I stay. It's just beautiful. Everyone's so nice too. I grew up in LA where like a lot of people aren't very nice to each other just in public. Like, and everyone's so nice to each other all the time. Um, just the architecture. We've done the like architectural boat tour. Uh, th- I just like the layout of the city. Everything about it is just so fantastic. And the weather in the summer is great. I try to stay away during the winter, but
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, I've been being able to play baseball these years. I've been fortunate. I've traveled to a lot of small towns in America, a lot of major cities. Chicago during the summertime is the best. Can't be beat.
Mm. One of my favorite things about it, not talking about deep dish, but just pizza in general in Chicago.
Yep.
They put so much cheese and sauce, and they just give you all the best stuff on it as well. I hate when people talk about Chicago pizza and they think the first thing deep dish. No, like Chicago pizza, like besides that, just normal pizza is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean you can go the deep dish route and it's good, but for me deep dish is tough because I eat like a couple slices and I have a hangover the next day. But yeah, I mean you're spot on. There's all sorts of different types, and it's all delicious. Sometimes you might have to search a little bit and find that hole in the wall, and it's just such a great payoff.
And during the summer, I think they normally plan it like July-ish, August-ish. There's a little bit of a rivalry between the Cubs, Sox, and when fans attended, what's the atmosphere like when you pitch in those games?
Oh my God. It's like a World Series atmosphere. I mean, I don't know what a World Series atmosphere is like yet, but it's yes, yet is a key word, but it's probably as close as you're gonna get. I mean, packed stadium, whether base or we're at Wrigley. Funny story from like the 2020 season. Obviously, fans weren't allowed, but when we went to Wrigley and we wailed on the Cubs there. That was a great series.
Jose Abreu went off.
Yeah, that was Jose Abreu's MVP series right there.
Yep.
But they sold tickets on like all the bleachers like beyond the outfield, and our setup, like our locker room setup, is completely different for social distancing. And so and also pitchers aren't supposed to be in the dugout, so we were sitting in the stands. There's like a little thing down the right field line where the pitchers would sit, and I would get out to that spot by actually like going through our training room and then opening up to a balcony and then walking on this balcony around right field and then into the main seating area. And I remember like opening the door, going out on this balcony, and then the like bleachers things were like right up there, and a bunch of fans, like some White Sox fans were like, Giolito, yeah. And then there's a bunch of Cubs fans booing. And I was kind of that night going back and forth, and it was one of those nights where we were just hitting a bunch of home runs. And so I'd go up there and I'd like, I'd go back up to the clubhouse to like grab something to eat or like a drink or something. And I was kind of talking some trash with the Cubs fans sitting in those bleachers from afar. Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere, even though like we didn't have fans, was still crazy. There's just something about it, man. It's really special, and it's a lot of fun. Those series for sure. I can't wait until we can have fans again, because that makes it all the more special.
Hopefully this season.
Definitely not taking that for granted again. I'm trying to see as many games as possible.
Yeah, I don't care if it's Wrigley. If I have to go to the South Side, just give me live baseball at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're all hoping, man. I urge everyone to stay the course. Social distancing, masks, all that kind of stuff. If we're all on the same page, and once the the vaccine comes through, hopefully we can get back to a normal life again.
Yeah, I believe that we're on the right page right now. Obviously, numbers are spiking and whatnot. Everybody just kind of has to accept responsibility and play their part. I know I've been social distancing. I don't even see my family. I feel it. I know everybody else is feeling it. Obviously, that's all I'm hoping for the holiday. I'm sending out Christmas cards for the first time ever in my life. It's literally me, my girlfriend, and my little Frenchie. And it's, where it's well wishes and health. And that's basically what we're wishing for is health right now. It's for everybody. So yeah, I think, most importantly, we want to get the baseball season going. It seems like, at least as far as the White Sox organization, most of the league did well in not catching COVID. Or if there was a COVID case, they didn't let it spread, so on and so forth. Which, fun fact, I found out that the major leaguers have a different way to test than what everybody else did. Apparently, you guys were able to spit into like a cup versus the whole world was taking the Q-tip to the brain for a while.
I'm lucky in that I have not had the Q-tip thing up my nose yet. For us, it was all like, I don't know what the test was called, but we would spit into this tube. And so it was like every day driving to the field, I'd be like trying to build up spit and then, park, go in, spit in the tube and get through. Because like if you go through and you got like a dry mouth, you'd be sitting there for 20 minutes because they need a lot. And we were doing that every other day. And then as we got closer to playoffs, it became every day. And then in playoffs was every day. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to complain because we were still able to play Major League Baseball, and
Exactly.
it kept us safe. So it is what it is. I'm sure we'll probably be doing something similar this year.
Yeah, if
Speaking
it
of,
wasn't for all that, we wouldn't have been able to experience some amazing outings, including that no hitter. I'm sure you've been asked a million times about it, a million and one times. I watched the game. I forced my girlfriend to turn on the TV. I was like, it was like fifth or sixth inning. I was like, I have a feeling this is it. Because the game before you pitched a gem. I think you have like 13 strikeouts the game before. And we turned it on and, we're watching and she's like, why do you keep tapping your leg? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, you act like you're the one on the mound for this game. I'm like, trust me. Like I had my fan hat on, I was like, I'm nervous. I want to see this. We haven't seen it since Mark Burley, I believe in. And, we saw him do it a couple of times. Well, what was that like? I mean, obviously you were focused, you get to the fifth, sixth, seventh inning. And of course, as you mentioned, seventh inning, eighth inning hit, you're like, okay, this is a real possibility. So, I mean, if you don't mind taking us through, like, what was that like those last couple of innings? And then more so that last out, I mean, that was a pretty solid hit ball, that, he had to get to, Adam Engel had to get to.
Yeah, it was just one of those days where like in the first 2 innings, I could tell that like my stuff's really on. Yeah, I was missing bats, my changeup was working. The command was pretty solid. When I was missing my location, the stuff was still playing up to the point where they weren't doing damage. And so I was like, this is going to be a really good start. We got to stay on the right track. And then going through, third, fourth, fifth, it was all good. And then after the completion of the 6th inning was when I was like, this is very much a real possibility. I looked at the lineup. I had walked one guy. I think the walk was like in the 4th inning or 5th inning. So I walked one guy. So it was like, I am going to be facing this lineup one more time completely, and then the one hole. And that's when it like became real to the point where like this is something that can happen. The focus, the intensity, just maintain it. Keep going, keep doing what I'm doing. And let McCann do his thing back there. And we're going through that's when things started to get a little bit more hairy, but the defense was just spectacular. That play up the middle, or was it the TA's right or up the middle on the ground ball? That easily could have been a base hit. Yep. I gave up like a very hard line drive out to Josh Bell. And luckily, like we had the shifted defense, and it was like right to like TA or Moncada in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, the 8th inning I think was very solid. It was like that kind of peak performance state throughout that whole game, where I didn't have to think, I didn't have to like try. It was just happening, and I was very, very focused on every single individual pitch. And then that kind of went out the window for the 9th. I go into the dugout after the 8th inning, and I'm the type of guy in the dugout during an outing where I'm not like just sit there and like look at the ground. There are guys like that where it's like every inning it's like go into the dugout and sit there, and it's like very calm and like not talking to anybody. I'm the guy that's like very loose, and I'm like chatting it up with everybody, and I'm like drinking Red Bull, and I'm walking around. Like I like to stay loose. I was doing that pretty much the whole game. But after the 8th inning, like I'm sitting there and no one's talking to me anymore. And it's like there's 3 more outs, there's 3 more outs, there's 3 more outs. And I was very confident that we were gonna pull it off, but anything can happen in baseball. So the adrenaline, I could feel the adrenaline starting to kick in. Going out there to warm up was like the feeling like in the tips of the fingers and the toes, like starting to not feel those anymore, like feeling like a floating feeling. It's like, oh man, okay, we gotta lock it in. And yeah, I mean, it's I've watched that 9th inning over a few times. Like after it happened, I don't remember anything from the 9th inning, but I've seen it enough times now where I can kind of like recall. And the first batter, I believe, was Gerard Dyson, who actually we ended up picking him up later in that year. Yep. And I think I got him to strike out on a check swing where he may or may not have gone, but it was just one of those. And then the next guy was a pinch hitter, righty, and we were going like slider, slider, slider. And we had him like 0-2 or 1-2, hung a slider like bad, hung a slider like right down the middle, and he popped up. Like he was pissed he missed it. It was like a pop up and and I'm like, oh baby, I got away with one. All right. And then the last batter was their leadoff guy. The one guy had to face 4 times. And it was kind of McCann's game plan to go to the slider late because I'd thrown so many fastballs and changeups the first 3 times through. And so it was like slider, slider, slider. My slider was really good in the 9th inning. And I think we had him like 0-2, 1-2, 2-2. I don't remember. And no, it had to be a 0-2 or 1-2 count because McCann wanted the high fastball. And he set up like super high to the point where it's like, hey, either this is going to be like perfectly executed, like this far above the zone, or throw it to the backstop. Do not like let it go down. But the adrenaline took over. I ended up pulling it down a little bit, ended up catching the strike zone. He was gearing up for it. Perfect swing on the ball. Off the bat, like, you see it off the bat for a split second. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm that guy. I just blew the no-hitter with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. Luckily, we had one of the best defenders, one of the best outfield defenders playing in right field, positioned beautifully, thanks to Debo.
Yep.
Daryl Boston, our outfield coach. And, Angle comes in, perfect jump on the ball, comes in, makes the grab. That was it. And it was just like an amazing moment for me and McCann and the rest of the team. Obviously, the highlight of my career to this point. I'm not, like you said, I've talked about it a lot, but it's not something that I don't want to talk about because it's like the best moment of my career and it's fun to relive. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I remember just watching that. I just wanted to share that moment with you. So I do appreciate that. Do you still have that baseball? I assume you still have it.
Yeah, we got that baseball. All the like memorabilia from the game. We had it authenticated that night. There's an authenticator at every big league game.
Hmm.
They ended up digging up the mound. That night, our grounds crew dug up the mound and dug up home plate. McCann got home plate. I got the mound. That got authenticated. And then multiple baseballs, like dirt from the field that night. My hat went to Cooperstown. That was cool. That was
Wow.
cool. Yeah, they set up like a little thing for my no-hitter in Cooperstown. So that will always be there. Everything else, the cleats and baseballs, multiple baseballs, including the final out. I sent that all to my dad in New York. He's just going to hold on to it because I don't really, this house we're living in right now will be in for like the next few years as my wife gets to veterinary school.
Hmm.
But yeah, when I set up like an actual like trophy room where I have like signed stuff from guys I've played with and against and accolades and all that kind of stuff, that's when I'll take it all back and have a nice little setup. But until then, my parents are holding on to it.
You're talking about McCann getting home plate. He was he was with the team the past couple years. Your
Hmm.
best 2 years with the team behind the plate. What was it like pitching with him?
Oh, I mean, he's fantastic. Extremely diligent, very, very hard worker, fantastic leader as well, both vocally and by example. Um, yeah, I mean, it's no question that he's like my favorite catcher I've ever worked with in my career. We worked very, very well together. Uh, we'll see what happens. Like I know that his free agency is starting to heat up a lot right now.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I want him to get what he deserves. He deserves a nice contract. He's put in work the last few years,
Hmm.
and whether that be with us or another organization, it is what it is. I just think that he deserves a nice sum of money for him and his family to live well the rest of their life, and
Hmm.
I can want to see him continue to shine in the big leagues. So yeah, I mean, I love that guy like a brother. He's a big part of my development and success over the last couple years.
And both of you got an All-Star appearance last year in
Hmm.
Cleveland, which was probably a fun time for both of you. I attended that. Cleveland was a good hosting city. I felt like our game. It wasn't too busy. Coming from Chicago, I was like, I could just walk the streets and there's like 3 cars on a
Yeah,
Saturday going down the main road.
yeah, that's what Cleveland's like. We play there a lot. Yeah, I mean, they did a fantastic job. I thought the All-Star game was awesome. Um, Being able to pitch in it, dream come true. I want to play into like at least 7 or 8 more of them, but that was definitely a fun one to kick it off. Being able to go with James was special for both of us because we were coming off of 2018, a very down year for him with Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
where they ended up non-tendering him. And for me, 2018 was like the year where I was really, really bad in the big leagues. And it was kind of like a moment of redemption for both of us where it's like, hey, like last year, like that's in the past. Look at what we're doing now. So
Hmm.
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So moving forward, you guys ended up getting, as you mentioned earlier, the White Sox organization, they part ways with Ricky Renteria. Obviously, pretty good coach, right? Bringing Tony La Russa. I don't think we really talked about that. What were your thoughts there, and have you had a chance to like sit down or talk to him maybe over the phone about how to become successful as far as bringing a championship to Chicago and what you guys, do you guys have anything going on there?
Yeah, I've had a few conversations with Tony over the phone, and they've
Hmm.
all been fantastic. I'm
Hmm.
really, really looking forward to working with him. Uh, as you guys know, he's a Hall of Fame manager.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Oh
He
yeah.
knows what he knows what he's doing, and so I think we're in very, very good hands. I think that we're looking to contend for however long our window is here, and
Mhm.
we got a very, very good manager, a great coaching staff around him as well, that's been building up this offseason.
Mhm.
I think that the trajectory is great for us. Obviously, the talent is there. We're adding more currently.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't want to get into too much detail about like our conversations
Mm-hmm.
as
Sure.
far
Yeah.
as
No.
like as far as like coaching philosophy and stuff. I want to let that play out as we get into spring training and everything.
Mhm.
But I just want like White Sox fans to know, and baseball people in general to know that we're going for it, and it's looking good for us.
That's awesome. That I'm excited to hear that. I'm excited to
Mhm.
hear that as a fan of the game, as a White Sox fan. How can you not, right? You got a super young squad. It's going through the rebuild. So I'm going to name off a list, right? There's two sides to every baseball team, right? So I'm going to ask your opinion on this. Jose Abreu, Tim Anderson, you have Moncada, Yasmani Grandal, you have Lewis Robert, Eloy, obviously some other new additions. That's one side. The other side, you have yourself, Lucas Giolito, clearly an ace in the game. You have Dallas. You have now the newly added Lance Lynn, Dylan Cease. Uh, Not to mention Michael Kopech should be coming back this year.
Mhm.
Hearing
He
all
will be.
those, hearing all those names, where's your confidence level?
Our, I think our collective confidence level is very high right now. Um, I'm excited for if I were to like pick something I'm very, very excited about, like within our team right now, me being a
Hmm.
starting pitcher, is Dylan and Michael.
Hmm.
Um, we landed Ethan Katz as our new pitching coach.
Hmm.
He's a very, very good pitching coach, very diligent, um, demands the best from our pitchers.
Hmm.
He's already working with those guys, obviously remotely at the moment, but um, putting in very good off-season work right now. I'm looking for Michael to come back very strong. Obviously, he took last year off, understandably so. A
Hmm.
lot of concerns surrounding the 2020 season, but he's been building up. Everything I'm hearing, his bullpens and his work has been fantastic. Dylan's been putting in work right now as well, and I'm looking for a very nice Dylan Cease breakthrough season. Obviously, he's got elite stuff. It's just the putting it together at the big league level. Um, Guys move at different paces. It took me like 3
Hmm.
years to figure it out.
Yep.
Um, and so obviously, me, Dallas, and Lance, and then the younger guys too. I think that Ronaldo, he's been working very hard this offseason. uh, I think that he is going to make some adjustments to kind of get back to his true form, and even more so than he's ever shown. I think that we're in a very good spot, to say the least. The offensive stuff, I mean, you saw what we were doing last year offensively. It's just going to be more and more of that. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're in a very good spot as a team.
Nothing like good run support and some nice arms
Hmm.
coming in every game. Yeah, guys. You guys heard it here first. Any Sox fans listening to this podcast, you heard it here first. Obviously, anybody that watches the game is a fan of the game. They know and understand. In Chicago, we get a lot of comparisons to the Cubs with their rebuild. From what a lot of people are saying is like they're comparing the Sox this past season, obviously the COVID season, it's a weird year, to the Cubs of 2015, where it's like, well, they ended up pushing further than what the expectations were. And now next season is like the true contending season. Especially if you guys get a full season, and who knows what you guys can do. So I know
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to it, and I know the rest of the league is definitely looking forward to, especially that tough AL Central division.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. I'm hoping that we can have a nice full season. We'll see. What's going to be happening here over the next few months. But however it shakes out, I think we're going to spring training very confident, and we're only going to get better. A lot of us are young and
Yep.
still hungry and learning different ways to improve different facets of our game. So we have very nice set of veteran guys as well to learn from. Great coaching staff. I think that sky's the limit for us.
There we go. Healy, is there anything else you want to add to that?
I think I've asked everything I could think of today.
Sounds good, guys.
That's awesome. Well, Lucas, I know I surely appreciate you taking time out of your day, for the last hour at least. So we do definitely appreciate that. As a fan, as a person, I hope you nothing but the best, man. Stay healthy. Baseball season is right around the corner. I know I'll be dialed in, watching you probably every game like I've been doing the last couple of years. And if you're in the city and you run into myself and Healy, be looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's a lot of fun to come on here, talk a little baseball, talk a little video games. It's a great platform.
As always, you can follow the podcast on social media at SROnlyPod. Make sure you download the episode. Best way to show support. Our personal pages, you can follow me at the Healy6, Twitter and Instagram, and just normal Healy6 on YouTube and Twitch.
Yep, and I'm iGoose with 4 O's on pretty much every social media platform, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on Twitch as well. I do play different games than what these fellas here play, but nonetheless, and then of course, Lucas Giolito, you have your social media platform as well.
Yes, sir. I'm at LGO27 on Twitch. No, not Twitch. I'm sorry. On Instagram and Twitter. General Geo on Twitch. So yeah, I mean, I'm streaming here and there. You guys come join in and have a good time.
Make sure to follow the Orphan Kitten Project on Instagram and
yes.
Twitter
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
I'm checking
Nice
that out.
plug, Healy.
Right after
Good
this.
stuff.
But as always, we will see you guys next week.